past week, Elon Musk held the Tesla annual shareholder meeting out of the Gigafactory in Texas. There was a lot of things that came out of this meeting. Most people just know, hey, we voted for a 3-to-1 stock split and it passed. Yes, we are going to the moon. No, there was a lot more that was said during this annual shareholding meeting. So I'm going to make a 3-part series for this annual shareholder meeting. The first part, I literally went through everything and I wrote it down. I'm just going to read it to you to make your life easier. This is probably going to be a quick 8 or 10 minute video. The second video that I'm going to follow up after this one, not today, but in the future, is I actually recorded the entire meeting, but only the parts where Elon Musk is speaking. And then I'm going to make it a much smaller version and cut out all the fluff to make it easy for you guys to watch. And the third follow-up is I'm probably going to do a video of him taking questions only. And maybe I'll make a 4th video giving you some thoughts about the future of Tesla. Now, fair warning, I'm so happy that during this last downturn, I was actually able to buy shares of Tesla. I missed out on Tesla when I sold at $420. But I was able to get back in around that 600 to 800 mark when it was dropping recently. Guys, let's start. The very first thing, so if you never heard Elon Musk speak, it's absolutely a pleasure. Number one, this guy don't give a flying F, guys. He don't give a flying F. He just talks. So he starts by saying he enjoys to work with a super talented team. Throughout the entire presentation, he's big-upping the Tesla team. Not just in one location, all locations. And he says, without the Tesla team, we wouldn't be able to produce what we do. We wouldn't be able to make what we do. It's truly amazing as an employee when you hear your CEO, and bro, this is Elon Musk praising you, you know what I mean? Especially right now with the economy not doing so good and layoffs in Tesla, but he always supports his team. It's pretty remarkable. He says he's happy that he's able to deliver products and make people happy and work alongside such an amazing team at Tesla who makes things happen. That's very important that a lot of people probably would not pick up on. He says that there's going to be a 72% CAGR. CAGR stands for Compound Annual Growth Rate. He says currently they had 1.5 million cars that were made in a run rate, and by the end of the year, they will have 2 million. 10 years ago, they had 3,000 cars. He says that he had around 2,500 Tesla Roadsters and a couple of hundred more Teslas. So he had around 3,000 Teslas 10 years ago. Now, they produce 3 million cars. 3 million cars. Pretty remarkable. There was a chart. Guys, the chart literally went like this. Whoop, like this. And he says it's not stopping. We're going to keep producing more and more cars. The chart was ridiculous, guys. I literally drew the chart just to make, my life easier. This is how the chart looked like. It was whoop. It looked absolutely phenomenal. He says that we produce more cash than we spend, and this will go up from here. Again, the chart was like this. Losing, and then in 2021, something happened. It started going up. 2022, just like, boop. And he says it's going to keep coming up. He says, listen, it's not easy to produce more cash than you spend. We're doing pretty good. And they actually had $7 billion in free cash flow. The $7 billion also is just going up tremendously. Last year, they had a lot less. Last year, I think it was like 4.5, 5 billion, something like this. I'm going off of the charts. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I just saw the charts and it's like boop and boop. 7 million is like whoop. Full self-driving, man. He says that full self-driving will increase cash flow by multiple magnitudes. He said, wow. And he says that a lot of people are not picking up on this. Concerning the full self-driving, he says we are solving the element of AI in driving. So he says the elements of regular driving, like manual driving, would be your eyes and your brain. Well, for AI driving, he says the equivalent would be a camera and a data link service. And he says that if any engineers in AI would like to solve real-world AI issues, come over to Tesla. He says that by the time full self-driving is out and 100% like working, it's going to be a lot a lot safer than manual driving. And then he gave an example of the elevator. How right now we just press a button, the elevator goes, it has all of these crazy safety stops, But before, the elevators was like handheld elevators, and then you had the crank elevators, then you had a doorman who had to do like a bunch of things. And now it's just a lot safer. It's all automated. And he says that's an example of how full self-driving is going to be, but obviously by magnitudes, right? But it's a good visualization. He mentioned about AI Day. AI Day is going to be at the end of September, September 30th, actually. He says that Tesla EV margins are the highest in the entire industry. And he's not talking about in like EV margins. He's talking about period, that Tesla is making the most margins out of any other car company. He says we are so much as a software company as we are as a hardware company. So he says Tesla's not just a hardware company. What's a hardware? Hardware would be the actual car, right? That's a hardware. Think about a computer. The computer is the hardware, right? The GPU, CPU, everything. The software would be the actual programs on the computer. So a lot of people don't realize that Tesla has a lot of software that's going to keep upgrading Tesla, right? There's always things that Tesla's always connected to, like a link system between all Teslas and Tesla headquarters, so on and so forth. This is globally, locally, globally, state, everything. And the more data that they have, the better they can make the car. Eventually, right now, like full self-driving, instead of buying it, period, you could just buy it per month. And there's going to be other upgrades that you can do per month. On a side note, and this is not something he said, but this is the sustainability model of Tesla once Tesla actually takes off, right? How do you make Tesla profitable once everybody has a Tesla, right? How are you going to make Tesla? How's Tesla going to make money? Tesla's going to make money because you're able to upgrade it at any time. He started talking about competition in EV, and he says that basically any major car company, any major, automotive brand right now has an EV department. He said it's pretty funny because 5 years ago, none of them was pro EV. He says that a lot of their patents is open source, and he says what's good for them is good for us, and what's good for us is good for them. He says that the EV competition is not against Tesla, but it's against the gas car industry. And he says, as they announce, those other companies, Ford, GM, whatever, as they announce an EV program or an EV upgrade or an EV expansion, this always brings up the share prices of Tesla because, imitation is the best form of flattery type of stuff. Pretty interesting. So he says he has a lot of work to do with the current Gigafactories. He says that, and I quote, he says, there's like 10,000 different problems when it comes to a Gigafactory in the production. And the faster your production is, the faster you can solve these 10,000 little problems. He gave an example. So he says it's an ever-evolving issue to keep cranking up and ramping up. He did mention something interesting. He says by the end of the year, they're going to announce one more Gigafactory. A couple of people laughed, like, where's it going to be? Somebody said Canada. He laughed. He's like, oh, I'm half Canadian, maybe. He says that he foresees 10 to 12 Gigafactories eventually. So eventually he wants to have 10 to 12 Gigafactories, and each Gigafactory is going to be able to produce 1.5 to 2 million cars per year. Guys, last year, they produced 1 million cars. This year, they're going to produce 2-point-something million cars, right? They already produced 3 million cars total. It's remarkable, right? The pace that they're growing is huge. A lot of people are like, how is Tesla going to grow? This is how Tesla's going to grow. Well, how's Tesla going to grow once they have all their cars? Well, there's so many other products, which I'll get into in a moment, that people are not talking about and not taking into account. It's remarkable. The solar panels. He says that Tesla produced more power from the solar panels than all the energy used in all the production for all of their cars put together. And I forgot the units that he put up. I didn't read it from the screen, actually. I didn't understand. But essentially, the energy produced was 25.39 versus the energy used was 25.27. I don't know what units this is, so don't kill me, guys. So they have battery recycling. Currently, they're doing 50 battery recycling every single week, and this is happening in Nevada. He says one of the things with, Tesla is the recycling, and it's sustainable. And now they started recycling the batteries. He says the problem is there's not too many batteries to recycle because the batteries last 10, 12, even 15 years. So only now are they starting to ramp up recycling of the batteries. But he says it most certainly did start. And he says, for example, in 5, 10 years from now, that's when there's going to be like more and more recycling happening of the batteries, because right now the batteries is just super efficient and they're just long lasting, so there's not too many batteries. He was talking about vehicle casting and the shape of the actual gigafactories. He's talking about like increasing production, right? He says before there was 171 pieces and they took the 171 pieces and now the casting of the actual Tesla is 2 pieces. That's it, just 2 pieces. He says this makes them lighter, stronger, cheaper, and overall much better. He says they just keep increasing as much as possible and they will keep increasing. So he improved the shape and he gave an example of Shanghai and he called it like free moving, forward moving manufacturing. So Nevada is like a building here, building here, building there, so on and so forth. Shanghai is just one long production line, essentially, from point A to point B. And it's just like, and it makes the factories more efficient. He says this is how he's going to keep building the factories in the future. He spoke about engineers and that most engineers either want to come to SpaceX or Tesla, depending on when the survey is taken. But he showed like the top engineering places that people want to work is SpaceX and Tesla. And he says that it's interchangeable. So if you come to Tesla and then you want to work on SpaceX, you could. If you go to SpaceX and you want to work at Tesla, you could do that. They support it. And he said it in like a joke. It's hilarious because he so don't give an F. Nonchalantly, he's like, yeah, if you want to work on electric vehicles, you can. But if for some reason you want to wake up and work on rockets, hey, we support that. We'll shift you over. He says that there's 3 million job applications last year to work at Tesla. 3 million job applications to work at Tesla. And he was talking about the superchargers. He says that the superchargers are 99.96% uptime. They're efficient and they're always connected just like the cars. So they know in real time what they need to fix, how they need to fix, and what goes down and why it goes down. He says they're doubling the supercharger count yearly. He says our cars are connected, so after there's crashes, we improve. He was talking about crashes between Tesla cars and non-Tesla cars. And then he gave an example of how they can improve. They get the information at real time. So right now, when you get into an accident, God forbid, your airbags go off at point of impact and your seatbelts tighten at point of impact. He says, well, if a Tesla, for example, knows that for 99.9% you are getting into that accident, we could tighten a split second faster and the airbags can go off a split second faster, which is going to be a lot more safer. He says Tesla cars in general are super safe compared to the gas industry. The problem is the media, and he didn't say this, I'm saying this, the media always portrays such a negative picture like, oh, a Tesla crashed. But they don't call out the thousands and thousands of cars that crash daily that are not Teslas. And it's funny, you know. But he says they're going to keep improving. And then that's another revenue stream, guys, the Tesla insurance, because only Tesla understands how the cars are driving. And there's a lot of imitations. I follow a company called Wejo, right, that allows you to connect with data sensors on cars, and they send those data sensors and the information to insurance companies. So other companies are doing this, but Tesla does this all internally. They don't need other third-party companies to do this, and they do it themselves. They get the data themselves, and they offer the insurance themselves for the cars they produce. It's crazy. It's an entire ecosystem. Tesla full self-driving beta. He says by the end of the year, anybody asking for the beta version is going to get it. Right now, there's 40 million people that are using the full self-driving beta. He says by the end of the year, it's going to be over 100 million. He then talked about AI Day, as I mentioned, September 30th. He says that the Optimus robot will be more valuable than the car company itself long-term. So right now, everyone's focusing on Tesla cars. He says it's remarkable the media is not picking up, but he says Optimus robot is going to be more valuable than the Tesla car. Pretty crazy, right? All right. He said 10 years ago, we had 3,000 cars on the road. Now we produced, 10 years ago, we had 3,000 produced cars. Now we produce 3 million cars. And he says in 10 years, I could see 100 million plus cars. And he says, besides for that, there's going to be many, many other options, many, many other products that we know about and that we don't know about. There's absolutely nothing more than I can say that Tesla is an absolute beast, guys. It was absolutely a pleasure to listen to this shareholder meeting. It's not always so pleasurable to listen to these boring speeches, things like that, take notes, so on and so forth. You actually learn when Elon speaks. It actually helps you as a businessman. It helps you as a presenter. It helps you as somebody who uses their brain to think, to listen to Elon. Don't underestimate what I just said. Really cool to listen to him work. Really cool to watch him work. Guys, don't forget to give me the like, share, and subscribe. Next video on Tesla that I'm going to do is going to be the edited version, taking out all the fluff of what Elon said, which is going to reiterate everything that I just said. Thank you. Have a great day.